Welcome to DJNTV and Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. Now introducing the one and only Ben Stowe.
Yeah, baby! Yeah. Hey, good evening and welcome to DJNTV. On a Tuesday, that means that it's time for Ben Stowe. Good evening, Ben.
I'm speechless. It's great to be back.
It's
been so long since we did a show.
It has. Life just gets in the way of production.
Yes, it does.
And
yes.
I went through and I was counting the number of shows, and I think we're at about 254 shows that we have done. Because I went through the playlist,
okay.
and there's some shows in there where like it wasn't a Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe show. It was Ben talking with Brian or Ben talking with so because.
It doesn't count if I'm not talking to you.
No. If it's a Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe show, but if it's a Tuesday, later night with Ben, or on a Monday night, it wasn't the official. So, yeah, we've done a lot of shows, but you get to that point where there's, where we've got business that we need to do, or family. All of a sudden, I have kids in sports, and it's like, oh. I'm going to be out at a football field until 9 o'clock because the sun doesn't go down in the fall until late, type of thing.
Speaking of kids, I had to remind the family. I'm like, okay, I have a show tonight, so let's just put World War III on hold or whatever they got going on. So stuff. No,
speaking of that, we need to get this out of the way right away.
Okay.
What were the results of the Die Hard Yes No Christmas movie?
Oh, she got thumped. I don't know. I think maybe it was. Somebody wrote something telling. They said, Ben, you're just too, I don't forget what the word they use, but valuable or whatever to argue with. Basically, I thought, maybe people don't want to, maybe she and I shouldn't have expressed our thumbs up or thumbs down quite so openly because maybe people don't want to disagree with me, which is funny because they don't have any problem at all around here. I can tell you that. So, people at home have no issue with it.
So within the Stowe household, what is the results of the survey?
We didn't really poll around here. But I did discover that my future son-in-law, as that daughter is engaged now,
yes.
So happy days.
Excellent.
He has never even seen the movie.
Oh,
so starting to seriously question her choice in men. But
that's room for you to have influence.
Well, we were going to have an intervention, yeah. And
yes.
I was going to say, all right, just forget it. You're going to watch it now. But see, that at that point we couldn't because now this discussion was raging on. This all just started with an innocent table conversation. And next thing you know, we're taking a picture and putting it on Facebook and in matching shirts, no less. So I'm sure some people thought we went to great pains to stage this. No, this went from about like in 5 seconds time from, having this discussion to being on Facebook. So very spontaneous and impromptu. But yeah, she got thumped. So it could be that people just don't want to disagree with me or more likely, I think it's just that she's wrong.
Everybody knows.
Yeah, everybody knows Die Hard is a Christmas movie. That's all there is to it. So, anyway, it's all in good fun. I mean, honestly,
It's been a fun discussion, actually. We sat down.
It's been neat to see the comments. It's been a lot of fun to watch people comment. By the way, the post is public, so if you're bored, and even though I'm maxed out at 5,000 Facebook friends, even if we can't be friends on Facebook, you can stop by and contribute your thoughts. If anybody cares to back my daughter up in this, you better hurry up because she's getting walloped right now. So just go find me on Facebook, Ben Stowe, and you'll see the picture with me and then my cinematographically limited daughter. That's a really hard. What is the word? I don't even know what the word is.
Not exactly.
She just doesn't know movies apparently.
Yeah. Cinematically, yeah. She just doesn't.
Cinematically, cinematically
impaired,
disadvantaged.
It's just she doesn't have. But it's a taste in movies. We'll figure that out some other day. So
she just doesn't know a Christmas movie when she sees
exactly.
one.
Exactly. And it's such a classic. So for tonight's show, we're going to talk a little bit about looking into 2022. This is something this isn't the first year we've done this. We've kind of done this a few times where we've looked ahead into the crystal ball. Surprisingly, Jimmy's used this graphic, I think, 4 times.
Yeah, I was going to say, what is up with this graphic? Every time I feel like it gets worse, but it's sort of like, Zoltar from Big, but creepier. Apparently I'm even creepier. If you find me inside of a coin-operated machine, just keep walking.
Yeah.
So Don't put any money in that thing. David Alexander, and I think others have posted this too, but he just recently posted a little shout out for you, David. He just recently posted a meme about 2022, and it shows a group of people huddled around a corner, poking a stick at the door of 2022, like to open the door. Mm-hmm. I feel like that might be kind of how we all feel right now. Like, what's in there? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I have an idea what's in there, though.
And that's what we'll talk a little bit about that. But let's kind of jump back to a couple of the things we talked about last year at this time. Actually, it was like a night or two later. I think it was like December 29th. If you guys want to go, if you guys want to go back, you just go to DJNTV.com. You can see the.
But why would you want to go back?
If you want to go watch the show.
But why? It's an entertaining show. Sorry, John.
Yeah, it was one of those nights where we talked about, and it's interesting as we were before we started tonight. We were talking about. We both kind of listened to it today. And we could have been like spot on. We were very, very close to being spot on for the year with a couple of unusual circumstances, but we were pretty close. So you've got a couple of specifics. So let's talk about those specifics, and then we'll move into 2022.
Well, so not just in that show, but in other shows throughout 2020, I made a few various predictions, and some of them I wish I was wrong about. 3 notable predictions. One, I predicted that the live events industry was by no means kaput, that 21 would be a very busy year. And obviously I get a big check mark for that one. I think resoundingly, this was an incredibly busy year for events and DJs and even myself doing live sound now, very busy year. So check mark. I predicted equipment shortages. Wish I was wrong.
Yeah, that one you hit right on that kind of out of the park there.
It's worse than I thought. If I'm being honest, it's worse than I thought. But boy, was I right. And I predicted price increases. Yeah, I was kind of right on that one too.
Yeah.
Current inflation at 7%, but we've seen price increases. Ape Labs just dropped about a 30% increase. So some brands are faring worse than others for sure. So that would be my 2020 predictions, notwithstanding that show. Another 2020 note I wanted to make, though, is you talked about finding balance and what are the things that we want to do. I gave myself a report card there, but I also thought about some things we didn't talk about. And that was in 2020, of course, I was home for Christmas. I had no shows, no travel, no nothing. And so was literally home. In fact, didn't leave the house, I don't think, much of December.
Right.
So the family and I watched 25 Christmas movies over the 25 nights before Christmas, which was nice. This year, one Christmas movie. So it was sort of back to somewhat normal, whatever that means. Didn't love it, not all of it. Loved being busy again, though. And then my dear friend Rachel Lynch. Last year we had a baking show. I can't really call it a bake off, but we respectively had our baking events, and a lot of people watched that, and it was a lot of fun. And even throughout this year, Rachel and I were talking about it. I was just in Boston and spent a lot of time with her and Jay, and we talked about it some more. We said, we really got to get this to happen. And the pace of this year being busy as it's been, yeah. In fact, we didn't even bake anything at all, not even off camera. We didn't even do any Christmas baking until the day after Christmas. So when the oldest daughter came home and saved us, she's the baker. So she doesn't know anything about movies, but she can bake. So, and she's a great kid. She's actually probably a lot smarter than me, other than movies. But
yeah, exactly, just the movie thing.
All right, so you at the end of the show last year, you said, what are 3 things you want to do in 2021? And how cool it was to go back and watch that, because I had honestly kind of forgotten that about those things, but I guess I didn't forget to do them because I'm 3 for 3 here. Number 1, I said I wanted to shake hands and hug friends again at an event, and I was at a couple trade shows and events this year, and I was able to do that. So check, made me happy. Number 2, I said, and you said too, you missed your sound system, missed doing events, missed hearing that big sound. I had a lot of concerts this year, including some of the biggest ones I've ever done. So got to push sound, big sound, and that was fun. It In fact, it got moved past fun and moved into exhausting, and that got fun again. So a lot of shows, a lot of contracts and things that bands and venues were trying to get fulfilled from last year. So, and then I don't know why I said it this way, but last year I said being in a crowded place. And I do like people, I guess, but being in a movie or on a flight or something, well, I did all of those. So check, I'm 3 for 3, except I went to see Ghostbusters, which I really enjoyed, by the way.
Nice.
And as we know, I have impeccable taste in movies. So, but the irony is our family was the only ones in the theater. There was only like 5 of us in there. We were the only ones there. So I thought, this is probably the safest place to be in a pandemic. There's nobody here. So went to the movies. How'd you fare?
Much of the things that we talked about, and we did a lot of predictions in other shows and a little bit here a lot with the Tuesday.
Yeah,
it would have been very much spot on in everything we talked about if it wouldn't have been for the variants popping up this past year. I mean, people came back. We had events, maybe not to the number. Some of our brethren, though, they had incredible years. Jay Brannon, as an example, has talked about this on their show numerous times. He had the busiest year of ever, and he's not the only one. I've heard others talk about that, but he's been the most public about it. Some people have been busy and changed into a different angle of what they're doing. Maybe they were a wedding DJ, now they're doing more corporate, whatever, corporate parties or corporate training things. So the work came back. It was different than what we, I think, expected. We were really hoping that it was going to become, that I would be the wedding DJ doing 25 weddings in the course of the season. And that didn't happen for the majority of the DJs that are out there. But they were back to doing things. And they were finding ways to make the business fluid, if not profitable. This week is kind of the week where we learn how the industry did, right? The ultimate litmus test is this week, how many people are saying, I need to spend money before the end of the year? Yes.
And there's a lot of people saying that. And, it's interesting. This really it's exactly what I said last year when I said, if this isn't you, if you're saying, well, I didn't have that great of a year, you should not look at that through the lens of jealousy, but through the lens of hope. Mm-hmm. Because when others do, that's a good indicator of the climate as a whole. So that means there's opportunity out there. And I can tell you, I think the majority of people I talk to, and maybe it's because we're on the equipment, sales side of the fence, that we're talking to people who are spending money, right? The majority of the people we're talking to had great years, best years, phenomenal years.
Yeah.
We're hearing a lot of really positive language, not just, it was good. We're hearing, they're like, wow, this was the best year ever, So, I honestly think, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm not sure if I actually put this down as a prediction, but I will just say that I think 2022 will be even better. I really do. And that actually does get into my 5 things. We can just sort of tag that in, and when we're ready for that, you'll understand why I think that. But I really do think that 2022 for the live events industry will be even better.
And I think that we're for a number of reasons, we're figuring out what life is like living in this situation. I think another part of it is that that we are seeing, people aren't, they are still people dying, but we're seeing that it's not as much as it once was. And we're getting to a point where we can do some things, and people have changed how they do some of those things. Many of this next year is looking at to be one of my busiest wedding years. When I was in 2019, I was looking at 2020, or that being the most weddings I've done in probably 15 years. Now I'm going to be looking at 2022. The calendar has some months already all filled up for me. So, and that's after a very slow this past year. I think people are ready to adjust and then move forward and get things done. So I'm expecting for the event side of it, you may see more concerts outside. You may see more concerts in bigger venues where people can space out and be comfortable with what they're doing. And then you'll have some that won't need to do that for whatever reason. And I think we're going to move forward and have a good year.
I agree. And, I honestly, I might as well just say number one, because we just said it. Humans, we're adaptable. and we just need a little time, and we've adapted. I think that's a key part of it. As you said, it's not necessarily that the pandemic is better, and in some ways maybe even it's worse. But we've gotten used to it. We've gotten comfortable being with it basically, and in other ways, even though we have the highest active cases we've ever had at any point. We have advances in medicine and we have advances in treatment, and the lethality of it is decreasing.
Tremendously.
And the threat of it is decreasing. At least that's my understanding. I'm not a virologist, I'm not a doctor, don't quote me, but it's becoming more understood, and people are able to manage things better. The CDC has cut their recommended quarantine time, which as science gets new information, it changes its position. That's how science works, right? Yep. And so because of that, and because of our adaptability, I think those are key parts of it. But I think it's also important to note that even now, and even, throughout this year, as we had surges and we have the highest number of COVID cases that we have, we're not seeing lockdowns or cancellations anywhere near on the scale of what we did in 2020.
Oh, for sure.
And somebody might say, well, I lost my New Year's Eve gig. Yeah, okay. And I know that's unfortunate, but listen, we don't have mandated lockdowns right now. I was again asked to work the college football national championship game, and I declined simply because I had already stated I was retiring from it. It didn't have anything to do with the pandemic. The fact is, though, this game is going to go on, and there's going to be tens and tens and tens of thousands of people in this stadium. And we've seen packed football fields, stadiums throughout the year, and we've seen concerts, not all of them, but saying, we don't have anywhere near the restrictions that we did, even though we have more cases now than before. So I think that really, really bodes well, for 2022. And hopefully, we don't know much about Omicron yet, but hopefully, we're already seeing a fairly rapid decline in the cases in South Africa. I'm told they have among the best sequencing system in the world, so that's why they discovered it there first, maybe. Maybe it wasn't necessarily there first, but they found it first. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we're seeing those cases decline. There's talk that possibly Omicron is less severe. And this, I say this with sort of mixed feelings. I understand the tremendous stress that's being put on healthcare workers and that sort of thing. And I don't mean to take anything away from that, but maybe this is a good thing, that this maybe begins the end of the pandemic and moves it into the endemic, So anyway, I guess we'll see. But I think we're in for a few months of misery in the U.S. yet, and that's okay because we're in the winter months, which traditionally are among the slowest months for the live events industry anyway. And it was also a time when a surge was predicted anyway. Everybody said when it's winter, it's going to get worse. Yeah. And they were right. The data has borne that out. But that means that if we can weather this surge now and the weather starts to warm and things are going to start to look up just in time for those spring and summer events. And I don't think this is unbridled optimism. I think this is tactical, tactical optimism, if that, but just a tactical reality that I would be planning for a busy spring if I were you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Which probably this isn't on my list. If you want to have gear in the spring, you really should be talking to us right about now, because I just know what's going to happen. And you can mark this prediction down. We'll talk about it next year this time. People who wait until April to try to order something are going to be really sad because there's going to be a lot of people that try to order something in April, and they're going to have a surge of demand again at a time when we currently still can't even fill orders as it is.
And I think that might as well, let's segue into that and talking about availability for gear. It's been a struggle. 2020, 2021 was a struggle. The positive side of 2022 is I think that we're going to see that start to abate later in the year, which will mean that next year at this time, we'll be able to say, hey, you've got some money that you need to invest. So Uncle Sam, we've got gear. I think
we can ship it now. That's actually quite literally number 2 on my list, yeah. John. We're in sync here after almost 300 shows. I think both the employment and the supply chain imbalances will start to settle out in late 2022. I think it'll take a little time yet, but I think that we will see that begin to settle And hopefully by this time next year, it is settled, and things are sort of back to normal. And in fact, that really rolls into my number 3. I'll just throw it out there now in the interest of just rolling on.
Actually, hold on to that number 3. I wanted to bring up.
Okay, I will not roll on with it.
There was a discussion I was having with someone who is in kind of a tech field, but it was in the power tool industry. Mm-hmm. They were saying that it's kind of an exciting time because there has been this backlog of things, and some things couldn't get pieces, so they weren't even building the next generation. And he was saying what's going to be really cool is that they've skipped this generation. We had this one, nothing here, and now we're going to be like making 2 to 3 steps because some of these tech people who design and come up with this stuff have had more time to basically sit and do nothing but dream of the next what's needed. And he's like, I'm like a kid in a candy store that there's going to be things that are going to come out here in that industry is going to completely blow people's mind because they didn't have that step, like they didn't go from the iPhone, the iPhone 11 to the 12 to the 13. It's going to be like going from the iPhone 8 to the iPhone 14 type of thing. So I don't know if that's going to be what we'll see in the industry, but it's kind of exciting to think about.
I think we will, but I don't think we'll see it in 2022. And I want to explain that for our viewers quickly because I wrote an article several years ago that said, should I buy something now or should I wait for what's next? And the answer is whether or not you need the gear. Mm-hmm. I would not wait. Again, thinking about supply and thinking about there's things you might need for spring. I would not wait hoping to see new gear in the spring because what we will begin to see in the spring and summer is the stuff we've been waiting on since last year.
Sure.
I think we will see generational improvements and I think we will see new versions of gear because shortages of chips have caused manufacturers to just have to completely redesign products, either redesign an existing model to accommodate a different chipset or just decide to scrap it and design the next generation. But I think it'll be late 23, 24 before we see those products, just being realistic because I know how jammed up these factories are right now. Mm-hmm. And people have asked me that question, am I going to see anything new from such? I said, look, they can't even ship what they make now.
Right.
So just a cautionary note, if you want to wait, that's totally cool, but don't wait hoping you're going to see the latest, newest, greatest thing in summer. We may see a smattering of a couple things, but I don't think this will be the year for that as we are still very much in a supply chain crunch. We're still seeing negative impacts on the supply chain at present. I think it's getting worse, not better. I think this variant will actually complicate things further as it slows down and shuts down Asian manufacturing, shuts down and slows down things in the port. Yes, I think we will see some really exciting things in the years to come that will be beneficiaries of this time. You will not see them early or in mid 2022, if at all in 2022.
I was thinking the place we may have our first opportunity is going to be NAMM 2023.
Yeah, I agree. Which hopefully is back to winter. Yeah, because NAMM 2022 is in the summer. Yeah, so we'll see how that ages. But yeah, excellent point, John. Excellent point. Just can't caution people enough. Seriously, listen, it's not a sales pitch. Here's why. You can reserve products that are on back order with us with no money down and no obligation. You can cancel. So where's the sales pitch in that? It's not. It's simply a way to get your name on the list and get your place in the queue because the ugly is not anywhere near over yet. But number 2, I think it will be over by the end of 2022. Mm-hmm. I think third quarter, we're going to start to see things begin to settle with both employment and supply chain.
Okay, number 3 on your list.
Number 3 really ties into that. I think that'll roll, that'll continue to roll on. And I think that we'll see a more muted, normal year. I think 20 and 21 were wildly unpredictable years. You had things occurring in the stock market that's sort of out of, bounds, trading relative to earnings. You had all kinds of things happening. And part of that is the unpredictability of the circumstances. Certainly everybody predicted that there would be variants, but nobody can predict what a variant will do.
Yeah.
I guess you could make lots of predictions, but which one's going to be right,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that things will begin to shake down, both as the fact that things begin to settle back into place and also as we adapt and we create mechanisms that create new order for these things to shake down into. So I think 2022 will just be a more normal year. Even if it isn't the same normal we had in 2019, it will feel more normal and things will begin to settle more. We'll start looking more at like fundamentals in the stock market, that sort of thing. And that'll kind of precipitate into all aspects of our life.
And I think that when we were talking 2021, looking at it from the crystal ball last year, the flexibility, we could start to see that on the horizon, that was going to be a needed thing. And I just kind of getting that gut feeling that for 2022, because people have become more flexible in what they're doing and have redefined in some cases of what their events will look like, I don't think we're going to have to be as flexible where I'm going to have to be doing, in the case of doing live sound, you're going to find enough live sound events that you're not going to have to be doing, little Bobby's pool party, with your big sound system type of flexibility. I'm probably not going to be doing backyard parties this summer because I'm back to doing my wedding, the wedding things. My weddings will be different than what they were in 2019, but flexibility, I think, was a big thing for 2021. I think that stability is going to be back for us when it comes to the type of things that we do.
Yeah, and for a couple reasons. One, we've really touched on, but two, that once you've done these things, they're less unfamiliar. So even if you continue to do some of those things that once were pivots, now they're just part of your, your arsenal.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
So I think it's a combination of two things. Are we ready for number 4?
I think we are.
Okay. Well, number 4, what we saw is and have continued to see is access to capital has expanded for small businesses. And I think that's going to continue. I think we will see some interest rate rises from the Fed as they try to figure out how to balance inflation. But money is still ridiculously cheap. And will continue to be. And so I think for our self-employed viewers out there and those that are, managing their business's cash flow, financing expansion, that sort of thing, I think that's really good news. I think access to capital for business owners is going to continue to be really, really good.
And that was actually Jerry Bizzata, who's come on and talked a lot about the banking side of things. He and a couple of other people have been kind of talking about the banking industry. Yes, the interest rates are going to go up, but if you've got the track record prior to COVID and you've got a plan to show them, they're excited to invest in you and to help because they want to see the economy grow and they want to see small business go, build, because that's when they make money. So
banks make money when they loan money.
Yeah.
And Americans have more savings now than they did before the pandemic, as a general broad brush. Again, that certainly doesn't apply to everybody, but the good news is we're not in terrible shape as a country. I read like a vacuum cleaner, and I read a lot of different things because I think that the truth is very fragmented. I think that you get pieces of information and you can kind of put together a mosaic of a picture. So, I'm reading all over the place, Forbes, Wall Street Journal, The Economist, NBC, CNN, every writer, whether intentional or not, has some level of a bias or a filter, and some have very plain biases, but I try to look at things with opposing biases, try to read articles that tend to be, far left, try to read articles that tend to be far right, read a lot of stuff in the middle, because then you get a little bit more of a complete picture, I think,
sure.
If you just take one and read it, maybe you're missing some valuable pieces of information. But anyway, the consensus seems to be along those same lines. So
yeah.
Gosh, it's interesting. You mentioned Jerry. I'm obviously much more comfortable talking about electrical theory or tech nerdy stuff. I feel like I've strayed dangerously into Jerry's territory here. So hopefully he forgives my attempts to offer my thoughts on the economy. Maybe it's worth reminding our viewers my title here is president, though. So unfortunately, most of my day is spent thinking about those things instead of gear, which I really would rather be thinking about gear, if I'm being honest. And I pretty much always am honest. So anyway, number 5 is sort of I can weave some nerdiness back into this because I picked Spider-Man No Way Home. But I think it's really important to note that Spider-Man No Way Home had a box office opening of like $250 million. And I think it's also worth noting that you can stream new movies at home. You know, if you've got HBO Max or something, you don't have to go to the theater for a lot of these movies. Some of them are not available at home, but many of them are. But nonetheless, this is a big box office opening, and people went out to see it. Mm-hmm. And you might be thinking, what does that have to do with me? Well, I think it says a lot. When people can choose to be entertained in their home, or they can choose and go out, people in this case chose to go out. And I think that really bodes well for the live events industry. I think that what we're seeing is that people want to have cultural experiences together. I think that bodes really, really well for people like DJs and MCs and the events that they're having. People want to be a part of that. And I said this exact quote in our show last year. I said, 18 months of a pandemic didn't deprogram thousands of years of people wanting to be together and do events. And I think the proof's there now. I don't think that's even much of a reach anymore to say that. It's very clear. People want to be with people. Mm-hmm. And that's really good indicator for the future of our industry, I think.
Yeah. I would definitely agree that you're seeing that, and it may change again. Your parties will be there. Your weddings will be there. They might be smaller. They might be in a different location. There might be whatever. But I think that hunger to get people together is, when I have my 91-year-old mother-in-law who, is chomping at the bit to, make sure, okay, is everyone vaccinated? Everyone's this, that, and the other thing. Okay, let's do Christmas type of thing. That's a telling thing that people at every age, from the kids who want to get back in school or wanted to get back in school and be with their friends, all the way up through grandma. It's time to get back together and have our social events.
Well, my dad and I were just talking about that today. He's in very poor health and would be a significant risk. And he's aware of that. He's a biologist. He's a physiologist, so he's acutely aware of how that works. But my mom is a worrier, and my mom was built for quarantine. My mom could quarantine forever. She loves this. And my dad, not so much. So we did not see them for Christmas again this year because, as my dad said, the only way he'd get out is if he escaped, and I think he's beginning to plot that. I think he's beginning to think like, I got to get out of here, and that's my point is that even somebody who's in very, very poor health, is beginning to, he is vaccinated and he's weighing the risks, and he's like, at some point, we got to get back to we got to be a family again. We got to get back together. He's not seen anybody except my mom in person in like a year and a half. And I know that sounds crazy, and it is crazy, and it puts a lot of pressure on me too, because I'd like to go visit him. But, one, I know my mom's got the place barricaded, but two, I've been flying and doing concerts and those sorts of things, and I don't want to put him at risk. And so, we're still sort of making these calculated decisions. But again, he's a biologist. He's a physiologist. He's somebody who has spent his entire life and career studying the human body. And he's like, look, we got enough, we got to get back together. We're establishing safe ways to do that, So anyway, now, of course, the irony here is my mom, who's also a very smart person, but not a biologist at all, is still right in this household, so never mind all the experience he's got teaching doctors and the degrees he has. And no, it's, you don't get to be right in that scenario, but, and I would say, I'm sure glad they don't watch this show, but I wish they would. I think that would be hilarious. That would start the mother of all brawls in their house, So I might just subtly drop the link and go, hey, Mom and Dad, I mentioned you in my show tonight. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you can go ahead, and when you share, you can do it at the exact time, and you can give me this little.
Yeah, you're going to love this part. I don't know. Yeah, I love you, Mom and Dad. Glad it's working for you guys. Yeah. Dad, I hope you escape soon.
So you've had 5, and you said you had a bonus one.
I do, yeah. Now that I've just lit the bridge to my family,
I'm trying to take you a different direction so we can get away from that, so you don't.
Oh, you know what? This hole's so deep. I'm just going to keep digging until we find water.
So, I'm trying to get you away from the hole. Put the shovel down, back away from the hole, Mr. Stowe.
Everybody's trying to find my parents' number right now to message them, like, you know what your son said? Gosh, we could have entire. I mean. Isn't that like this? The whole family drama is the thing, right? I mean, Star Wars, which I love. Star Wars is basically one family wrecking the whole universe forever. So
can we get on Zoom with them?
All right. Anyway, so the bonus is that apparently there's a spin-off group from MIT that has made some fundamentally key discoveries that has brought us much closer to nuclear fusion being a viable energy source. Which is good. And to me, I just keep thinking that also means we're one step closer to the Mr. Fusion that we saw in Back to the Future, where I can just take my compost and cram it in there and I can have power. And so I guess that's good.
That's actually, in the handyman world, they've been talking an awful lot about that, through some of the companies. The idea of having that backyard little fusion reactor that's in the backyard and powering it, basically the block, that every house in the block would be powered by this little thing that sits in the middle of the cul-de-sac or whatever. I don't know, but I'm
excited about advancements. I am. I like to see technology advance. We had an interesting argument is not the right word. We had an interesting discussion with the family that did get together for Christmas about hybrids and electric cars and combustion engines. Mm-hmm. And, I said, gosh, I don't really care. I'm not, I like the sound of a good combustion engine like the next guy in a sports car. But at the end of the day, for my personal driver, as long as I get there, I don't really care what's powering it. I don't really care if there's gerbils in the wheels that are running on a wheel. I don't, it doesn't matter to me. To me, I would have been just as excited about the car replacing the horse as I would be about what replaces this. I mean, maybe flying cars, whatever. But I think that's the beauty of it. We're seeing these new technologies, and maybe we haven't even discovered the what's next. But I think it's cool. I'm excited to see that we are continuing to advance as a species, and we're continuing to try to find different ways to do things and better ways to do things. And I think that's one of the fundamentally human things about our existence. I don't know. So, not sure I'm going to go live on Mars though, but it's kind of neat to see that.
Yeah.
There's a few of these billionaires that are going to space that I wish would just stay there, but
some of those billionaires, by the way, are we're utilizing some of their resources to do these shows. So if you start, all of a sudden we're going to get cut off.
Whatever. Just survived the pandemic. I ain't scared of you.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Take away my streaming? I ain't afraid of that. Okay, so we've gone through the predictions for 2021. Last year, of course, as we wrapped, we talked about some things you were looking forward to do personally that you would be looking forward to doing in 2021. And let's look at the same thing now for 2022. Are there any things out there that you're like, this is something I really want to make sure I do this upcoming year?
Yeah, I think the list is probably somewhat the same. I think we could probably cross, a couple of them off, but I think the being amongst friends thing is definitely still going to be number one. I want to do more of that. I want to see more people in person again. I really hope we get to do our lighting and sound symposium in April. Really hoping we do MEX and get to meet people there. Still waiting to find out if I'm going or not. I'm waiting to hear from Kat. So, believe it or not, she's the boss of that, and I have to listen to her. So, I think that would probably be still number one. Last year, we kind of went back and forth. Do you want to do your number one, or do you want me to go through my three? Because I still got to think of two, but okay. I think I know what they do.
One of the things I'm looking forward intending to do this year that I started last year, and it was after our show, the idea about being healthier and to kind of up that game. Last year started it. There were some pitfalls and such. There's going to be I've got to have a knee surgery here coming up. But my goal, one of the things I want to do this year is I want to be able to run that 5K with my daughter and hopefully kind of stay up with her She's much faster than I am.
Isn't your daughter a distance runner?
Yeah, I know. So that's why
you're going to get smoked, dude. You don't have a chance.
Come on, man. Just let me have this. Let me just pretend.
All right.
Let me pretend.
Okay, I'm sorry. I mean, John, go for it, buddy. If anybody can do it, it's you.
Yeah, that's it. So this year, as a person, something that
I know your daughter. All right.
Yeah,
I mean, you got a pretty good chance.
Yeah. I'll be right there. So that's become one of my big things. Is last year I kind of set that after probably about February or somewhere March, it became kind of a goal for that August event. Well, after spending that time getting ready, and then they have to do this knee thing, and then we're going to try it and see if that'll work. So that was one of my big ones for next year.
I think for me, it would be to relish in the normal a little bit more, would be my number 2. This year was, the pendulum swung hard. Like I said, went from 25 Christmas movies to 1 Christmas movie, baking shows to not even baking. As a family, nobody in the family baked anything, not me, but still managed to get out and do some camping and fishing at least one weekend. And I felt like I should have done more, more kayaking, which I didn't get to kayak out at all this year. And so I feel like I want things to settle now where, so much of this year was managing the chaos of a very busy events world, and their needs, our viewers' needs, while simultaneously battling supply chain. That was very, very stressful. 21 was much more stressful for me than 2020, because 2020 was pretty chill. We're just like, okay, well, guess we're going to see if we're still in business in 21. 21 we're just, going crazy constantly. I'm hoping 2022, I can, if nothing else, it doesn't even have to become more normal for me to just decide, I'm taking this time. I'm going to do this, and the world will still be there in a couple of days when I get back.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it's going to have to come down to, so that would be my number 2.
And my number 2, that was actually very, very similar to, one of the lessons, and we talked about this on the show last night, is the idea that it used to be kind of a moment, we'd spend a weekend together, we'd go camping with the kids and we'd had this larger window of time to have the time together. And it's become more minutes of, we only have they stop in for half an hour, and we have this window, but it's minutes now instead of hours or days. And to be able to have more of those minute opportunities, and obviously hours and days would be great too, but just really to make sure that that's intentionally in there. And we did that in December. Last year we didn't have the time to do, because we were doing reworks of the Disc Jockey News thing in December. This year it was the first year I didn't do a 12 Days of Christmas thing or any of those, so I wasn't on doing video every night. And we got to watch 15 to 20 different. I have a whole new appreciation for these Christmas romance movies, the Hallmark movies. Yeah, I've learned now how to handle.
Same plot, same cast.
But now I know how to handle days like today when it snows a little bit. You just have to go.
A little bit.
Well, yeah, a little bit. But you have to go out and you have to get,
John, we have 2 feet of snow here from today. As soon as we're done here, I'm going out with my snowblower, and I'm pretty sure the snow is higher than the front of my snowblower at this point.
It was that way earlier. Yes. Well, actually, it was that way the first time I blew. I've blown snow 3 times today. So.
Well, I was gonna, but it was snowing so hard. I thought, what's the point?
We had kids coming and going and things, so we had to. But yeah, it's been crazy. But now I know that when that snow falls, I need to go and wear a very nice, nice dressed winter jacket, a stocking hat. I've got to go get my cup of cappuccino and go and sit on a little bistro stool out in the front patio area, and then wait for somebody to come along or something. I don't know. Something happens.
Watch one of the kids shovel,
well, something. Yeah, there's always something that happens. So,
we talked about doing a fishing show last year, and we talked about our families have been talking about a joint camp out since our kids were little kids, and now we have kids in college and careers. So
yeah, and it's like the camper. I moved the camper from the front to the back, and that's about as far as it's gotten the last 2 years. But those times will come, hopefully, and that's something that we really want to focus and make that a priority. There'll be other things that we're doing, but it'll be, okay, this is blocked in and it's not leaving. It's staying in that spot.
Yeah. And I can barely see the camper right now for the snow. Yeah. It's not much of an exaggeration.
Yeah. I've got one of our Ring cameras focused on the camper and back, so I know it's there.
Just to make sure it's still there.
It's still there, yeah.
I was beginning to wonder what kind of snow load the roof can handle. I'm serious. I was looking at the camper and there's 2 feet of snow on top, and I was trying to figure out what that weighed. I'm like, is this going to be a problem with because it's not just the roof, but also the suspension. Everything in there is holding that weight. And I was just thinking about it. Look, viewers, I'm a nerd. I think about these kind of things all the time. So, just constantly doing calculations for no good reason at all. But anyway, my number 3, I didn't think about doing a 3 item thing. I don't know why, because I was thinking about the ones we did last year. It didn't occur to me I should think of some for this year. So these are pretty honest and off the cuff. And I guess as I'm thinking, my number 3 would be to have Christmas with my folks again.
Sure.
And for them to, particularly my mom, I'm talking to you here, Mom, to be comfortable being there, to be comfortable and not be worried about, so hopefully things are at a point next year where everybody does feel comfortable getting back together again. And, again, at this point, I've been comfortable going out and doing live events and flying and that sort of thing, within the guidance and whatever, and everybody's at a different place, and that's okay. I'm not saying I'm right and they're wrong. Some people are less concerned about it than I am, and I don't think anybody's more concerned about it than my mom. But, I think she's got that. I think she's got that title. But anyway, I think that would be my number 3, to have Christmas as a family again with them.
And it was a variation of that. Is that the idea of being able to go to events, whether it's a family event or a trade show or anything, and not have one of the concerns, having the question of, is it safe? Whether it's a family event because you have 90-year-olds, and I've got family that have different immunity issues. Those are a concern, which then takes it to if I'm out in a public, doing a trade show and I'm with people from around the world at that trade show, is that, is there just that whole thought process? It'd be nice to be able to have that not be part of the process anymore, and to be able to go to a trade show and have that international flavor. I mean, the ones that we've seen so far have not been able to have that international flavor like they once did. It's actually kind of exciting and kind of fun to be able to talk to people from literally around the world at NAMM, and sometimes it's frustrating because you can't understand what's being said, but there's that every once in a while when you uncover that little gem of technology there, like that is cool. And you only see those things when you bring the sharp minds from around the world together at a place like a NAMM. So definitely looking forward to the time when we can just go and do those things and experience those things and be part of it again without having to weigh is the risk worth the event. So,
well, I think everything we do bears some level of risk, and we use a risk assessment scale, where you have a vertical scale of 1 to 5 and a horizontal scale of 1 to 5, and the 1 scale is how likely is it to occur, and the second scale is what is the consequence if it occurs? For example, if it's likely to cause, death, that would be like a 5. And if it's very likely to occur, that would be a 5. So something that's very likely to occur and very likely to cause death would get a cumulative score of 25, and you shouldn't do it, and everything is calculated along this risk matrix, quite literally, almost anything we do. And to your point, that we make these risks every time we get in the car, we take these risks anytime we do anything. Maybe the food we just ate was poisoned. I mean, there is a risk somewhere in there. It's very, very infinitesimally small, right? So the likelihood scale is very, very small. And I think that's what we need to get back to, is where these are acceptable risks, where we feel comfortable taking them. And again, different people are already at different places with how they assess these things. But like you, I want that very much. And I think we're going to see it. We were 3 for 3 last year. I think we're going to be 3 for 3 this year. I think we're going to beat this thing. I think we're already winning. Like I said, even though maybe it doesn't feel like it, I think we're already in a better place than we were this time last year. And I hold hope eternal.
Mm-hmm. And looking for a positive and hopefully profitable 2022 and beyond.
I think that, it favors the people who are going to embrace it. I think that if you are looking to be busy, you will. If you're looking to go grow your business and be profitable, I think you can. I don't think there's any reason that you can't. I think if you just sort of sit and wait to see how things shake out, that probably won't bode the best for you. You know, in other words, I don't think it's just going to land in your lap, just like anything else. And, you know, entrepreneurs, people who've started businesses, our viewers who've built their businesses from the ground up that are watching, you already know this. This formula is the same as it's always been. Every day we're overcoming challenges. Entrepreneurs by nature are problem solvers. This is just one more problem to solve. And you got this. Again, many of you had a great 21, and you're going to build on that in 2022. And the rest of you should kind of take note and maybe reach out to those successful people. I think a lot of them like to talk and like to help and say, you know, hey, what was working for you? I think that I see a lot of promise for our industry in 2022, and I do think it will be busier than it was in 21.
For sure. For sure. And a great spot to talk to some folks is going to be coming up next. Brian and Jay are going to be in the chill room, djntv.com/chill. I just put the link up here just a few seconds before you heard me say that because of the delay. You know, I just have to throw that out there. But the guys get together, they do a little recording, and then after that, you're going to run into DJs from around the country who are at various levels. Some super busy, had their best year ever. You've seen some of them in the chat room tonight. Go in there, talk, share, ask questions, get to know people. It's a great opportunity to be able to find out, you know, what life's like in different areas and how people are doing and what they're doing. And maybe some of that can, you know, rub off and work in your area to help you have that better 2022. Excellent.
And Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year. Yeah, that's coming up too. So
yep.
Thank you guys for being with us tonight. We need to bounce. Howie's going to be up next. Again, djntv.com/chill. And Ben, I want to thank you for jumping on here for our year-end show, and we will catch everyone next time.
Off to go blow snow.
Yeah, you better get on that. Bye.